All right, guys, welcome to another podcast. So you can see the format's changed a little bit. We've got a schools update plus the under 20 and the Clash of the Titans. So in future, maybe what I'll be looking at is doing a weekly update, concentrating a bit more than schools rugby because we sort of getting to the tail end of the season, especially in terms of South Africa, so content will drop a little bit. So where applicable, what I'll do is I'll add like other interesting competitions in and maybe some thoughts and views as well. Just create sort of a weekly podcast on the happenings, but still focusing a hell of a lot on school rugby, of course. I mean, this is what the channel was built on. The videos will be longer, but it'll sort of give you a bit more content. So in terms of South African results, not much there. You can see I've got access to two games. St. John's beaten St. Stithians 50 points to 33 in the derby, and Waterkloof beaten Yege Janssen 34-26. In terms of what will be coming up, Craven Week's going to be held soon, so the squad information is coming in thick and fast, and what I'll do is I'll do an analysis video on that. And then we've got the Independent Schools Festival. That begins on the 27th of June, so that'll be a bit more rugby over there. So we'll skip over the top 10 for this week. The places are pretty much the same, so if you want to know what the top 10 is, go back to the last video. Let's move on to New Zealand. So the Auckland competition, round 7. Carlton having a good win over Aurora, 24 points to 19. And Sacred Heart causing quite an upset over Kings, 32-29. Seems to be the Giant Killers. Maybe they can be the St. Peters of this year. You don't know. Then Mags beating Dilworth 33-24. St. Peters having a good win over Tangaroa 29-18. And Auckland Grammar tight win over De La Salle 24 points to 19. So in terms of your top 4, Carlton go to the top, up by 1. Kings down by 1 in second. St. Peters and Auckland Grammar, 4th and 3rd respectively, stay the same sort of position. The UC Championship, Christchurch Boys big win over Waimea combined 88-0. Lincoln combined beating Marlborough Boys 28-19. St Andrews big win over Mid Canterbury combined 62-6. Shirley Boys beating Oroki combined 38-7. Nelson tight win over Timaru 24-22. St Bede's beating St Thomas 32-17. And Christ beating Rangiora 29-10. Top 4 remains the same except for Christ entering at 4th place as a new entrant. North Harbour round 8, Westlake beating Whangarei 39-15, Manawera beating Rosmini 43-5, Rangitoto and Oraware 22-all draw, and Massey beating Takapuna 10 points to 7. Top 4, Westlake and Whangarei stay in 1st and 2nd, Manawera up by 1 to 3rd, and Rosmini down 1 at 4th place. From what I understand, this is the last round, so we'll see what happens. Maybe there's a playoff or something, I'm not sure. Then the CNI, Central North Island, Francis Douglas having a great win over Wesley, 25-24. St. Paul's beating St. John's Hamilton, 48-19. St. Peter's Cambridge beating St. John's Hastings, 41-18. So not a good weekend for the St. John's schools. In terms of your top 4, stays exactly the same as last week, with Wanganui at 1st, St. Paul's 2nd, Francis Douglas Memorial 3rd, and Wesley College at number 4. Then you got the Super 8, round 3, Palmerston North having a good win over New Plymouth, 17-14, tight win over there. Gisborne continuing their dismal form, getting thrashed by Hastings, 38 points to 7. And a big result there, guys. Look at that. Rotorua beating Hamilton Boys, 18 points to 13. Hamilton Boys, I thought were going to win the New Zealand competition this year. That's what was part of my prediction. So Rotorua, great win over there. Some would say probably the best school in New Zealand based on this result so far, but we'll see. And then Napier Boys and Tauranga drawing 26-all. So in terms of the top 4, Rotorua and Hamilton Boys swap places, 1st and 2nd respectively, up by 1 place and down by 1 place. Hastings stayed 3rd, and Palmerston North, a new entrant, at 4th. In the Wellington Premier round 5, Wairarapa thrashing Hutt International 43-20. Look at that, Scots beating Wellington College 59-20. Big win over there for Scots. And then Rongotai beating Kapiti 36-0. St. Pat's Town beating St. Bernard's 53-5. And St. Pat Silverstream beating Aotea 20 points to 6. So in terms of your top 4 in the Wellington League, 1st is St. Pat's Town, 2nd is Scots, 3rd Rongotai, 4th St. Pat's Silverstream. No changes from last week. Then moving on to Australia. St. Joseph's having a big win over Shaw, 69 points to 17. Scots beating Riverview 24 points to 19, and Newington beating Kings 36 points to 17. So in terms of the top four, St. Joseph's up by 1 in first, Scots in second, down by 1, Riverview stay in the same position, and Newington fourth place, new entrant. The CAS only got one result. St. Aloysius beaten Waverley 22 points to 5. Don't have access to other results, and if you take a look at my table, Barker new entrant at first place, and then St. Aloysius up by 2 to second, Trinity Grammar down by 2 at third, and fourth Knox Grammar down by 2. And in terms of the GPS, just a reminder, that starts on the 20th of July. So let's move on to the Under-20 World Cup. Now, the junior box performed way above expectation. I actually predicted French winning my 2019 predictions video earlier this year. So you can go back and see that, but I did predict it, so it's another win over there for me, which is great, but obviously I would have preferred it to be of South Africa. I didn't think it was looking good for the French at one stage. They had a very poor Six Nations, and if you remember my review video or preview video for the junior box, I thought that New Zealand and England would look quite good, but I was wrong. Happy to be wrong. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a separate video on the junior box and where I think we're going wrong. But for now, I'm just going to sort of look at the good, the bad, and the ugly of the tournament. So in terms of the good, Louis Carbonell, that's a name we all need to remember, guys. To me, he was a difference between a South African win and a French win. The maturity he has is way beyond his years. And to me, it was a complete travesty he was not named player of the tournament. I think it was some Argentinian player, if I'm not mistaken. I do expect him to take home the Young Player of the Year at the RB Awards, in my opinion. But this guy's absolute class. I thought Jordan Joseph would have done a bit better, and I thought he was going to be the breakout star of this tournament. I mean, it was fantastic last year at only age 18. He still qualifies to play next year. That's what's really scary. So, yeah, in terms of the good, I can't rave enough about Louis Carbonell. I think he's a great player with a great future. Then moving on to the bad. I initially thought of New Zealand. I mean, it was quite a shock of a tournament for them. You don't expect New Zealand to be sort of fighting for a 7th and 8th playoff game. I mean, that's a bit shocking, but I have to give it to Ireland. And the reason why is because they were absolutely dominant in the Six Nations. I mean, they won all their games. And then their first game against England, they won 42-26. Then it just went to hell. They lost to Australia 45-17. Granted, they were in the game. There was a dodgy red card. So they had some guys playing out of position. But you make your own luck. You know what I mean? And to prove my point, they had a rematch against England and they lost 23-30. And then they had played against the Baby Blacks in the playoff and lost 17 points to 40, an 8th place finish. This was unacceptable, especially when you consider the expectations people had for Ireland. I had a lot of people saying to me, why don't you think Ireland's going to win it? And the reason is simple. I don't know what happens to Ireland at under 20 level. I mean, they can have amazing under 26 nations tournaments. They can do very well. They got a great school system. There's something just not going right for them at under 20 level, and it reared its ugly head this year in a big way. So in terms of the bad, I'm going to have to go with Ireland. And then the ugly. The ugly was definitely South Africa's semi-final loss to the French. I mean, we finished top of the seeding, and when we played this game, we just didn't look like the same team. What happened, in my opinion, is we didn't play to the conditions, and we seem to be paralyzed by the occasion. And yet again, we have another bronze place finish. Out of 12 tournaments, 8 of them we finished in 3rd place. 8 out of 12. There's something going wrong. Now, it was way above my expectations, but based on the other matches, I think it could have been yet another tournament that we could have won and we should have won. We should have played to the conditions, and there were some gentle selection tweaks we could have made and some experiments that we could have done that I think could have made us move forward. But like I said, that's going to be in a completely separate video that I'm going to go in a lot more detail about. Then finally, guys, the Clash of the Titans results. Thanks very much for your feedback. There's been a lot of voting via email and the community page. So what I did was I combined all of those together to get to a final result. So the first head-to-head was Graham Price versus Cole Heyman. 2 great props, 2 top props of their generation, but the result wasn't even close. It was 77% to 23% in favor of Cole Heyman. So Cole Heyman's going to go through to the next round. Then VPNL versus Adam Jones. This was a bit of a surprise to me, to be honest with you. The guy that went through was VPNL. And although I rate him highly as a prop, I mean, Adam Jones is pretty much a Welsh legend. So, yeah, I was a bit surprised by this. But again, this is you guys selecting the team, not me selecting the team. Like I said, we're going to change things up a little bit. You know what I mean? So, this is your selection. Your selection, you chose VPNL to go through. So, VPNL basically goes through. And then the next one was Wilson Winneray against Robert Papa-Rembor. French legend against a Kiwi legend. I expected this to be a hell of a lot closer, but it wasn't. 74% to 26% in favour of Wilson Winneray. Me personally, I think Papa-Rembor was by far the better prop, to be honest with you. And I think I'm coming from a place of relative knowledge over here. Winneray had great leadership potential, not potential, I mean, he was a great leader, he was a legend and all the rest of it, but in terms of an out-and-out prop, you give me Papa-Rembor every day of the week as my number one, every day of the week. This guy was an absolute beast. I mean, he decimated scrums almost single-handedly. The guy had a lot of power, but again, it's you guys making the votes, not me. So Wilson Winneray goes to the next round. And then the final matchup we had for last week was Ken Gray against Jason Leonard. And this was quite a tight one compared to a lot of the other ones. And at the end, Jason Leonard, I think fair enough, he went through 59% to 41%. I definitely think this was a fair call. Jason Leonard was great. Look, Ken Gray was a great prop. Don't get me wrong, but Jason Leonard is, once in a generation type of prop. I mean, great props. So I think this is probably the fairest reflection of all the results that I've seen. So yeah, it was a good vote, an interesting vote. 59-41 to Jason Leonard going through. So in terms of what's upcoming in the Clash of the Titans, we've got 4 more head-to-heads coming in for the tight head props, and then we're going to do a random draw for them. Next week, what we're going to do is we're going to start on the loose head props, so there'll be 2 more weeks of that, followed by hooker, etc., etc. And then also what I want to do this week is I'm going to try and release a Craven Week video. It depends on if all the squads have been released or not. And what I'm going to do is I'll do an analysis of the baby box and see where perhaps we're going wrong. Alright guys, thanks a lot for watching. Much appreciated. Let me know your thoughts and comments on the new sort of format I'm working with here, where I give you a bit more information in terms of these Monday videos, or would you prefer me to focus solely on school rugby on a Monday and maybe divide the rest up? Always look forward to your guys' feedback, and yeah, don't forget to click the like, subscribe and all the rest of that, and have a great week further as always. Cheers, bye.